Mm. Good morning, dear community. I want to thank you all for being here. It's very precious for me when you're here. So we have a full community to live our days deeply together. It's my greatest happiness. Maybe obviously since I'm helping to build this place. Mm. And I used to do this every day when I lived in the monastery for 9 years. And I love this way of living, so I'm so happy you're here. So it can manifest together, the warmth between us, the knowing each other. Yeah, so beautiful. And when you go home, I remember you. And I know you're still there. You're still our community. And maybe that's the case for many of you as well. Mm. I really enjoyed the chant this morning. This is a very essential chant in our practice and in the Buddhist tradition. Well, some of the traditions. Because it's the heart of our practice, our deepest insight. And we might not catch it at first when we hear it, but as we look into it and listen to it, it's all inviting us in the direction of non-self. It's all about the eyes of interbeing. The line early on in the chant. This body, these mental formations, my feelings, they're not of a separate nature. Yeah. They are part of life. Mm-hmm. And at the end, it says, this insight can bring an end to all kinds of suffering, all different kinds of suffering. Yeah, it's very powerful. To unlock a lot of our suffering, because so much of our suffering, our fear, our loneliness, our anger even, it's born in a feeling of separation. It's born from not knowing you are part of everything. You are this world. We are the sun. The sun is all inside us. We are the apple and the apple tree. Without them, we couldn't be here. And that, as Michael said, can begin as a concept, but if we keep practicing with it, it starts to be a knowing, a feeling that, for me, expands outside of my body. I don't feel like I'm just limited here. I have this big body. I feel it because I've meditated enough that I know it's true. I feel it. And not only the simple elements of the world are us and we are them, but our society, our ways of thinking. And we talk about these ancestral transmissions and how we feel, how we think about life, how we talk, how we live. When we wake up in the morning, we feel we absolutely well, some of us need to brush our teeth and wash our face. But some people in another part of the world, that might not be what they need or know first thing in the morning. There's so many different ways to experience life. This is one. And it's very helpful to know, because then we realize our experience of life, it's been a transmission. It's not a fixed thing. It's organic. It's changed over thousands of years, and it will keep changing. And with the practice, we can become very engaged in that transformation, so we can choose and create our life. And some of the things we've received are so beautiful. The way our ancestors may have learned to care for each other. And some of our transmissions are full of pain, because they came from a moment maybe when our village was attacked or there was a war, something. So we learned to protect ourselves with a kind of ferocity that hundreds of years later we still are kind of afraid of each other, even in the moment when we're not being attacked. Yeah. So I like to work with these transmissions in my meditation. That's how I have found to transform them. And recently there was one I saw very clearly. It's interesting how you see some parts of yourself and you don't necessarily see other parts for a long time. Maybe you've been attentive for 30 years, and for me, I can still be like, oh my goodness, I didn't see that way I am, and that I don't have to be that way. Yeah, it's a very deep habit. I feel very lucky. I still have my grandmother here. So it's a kind of a mirror that's walking around. And if you know her, she's so sweet. She's like the sweetest person most of the time. And I've noticed this sometimes in the kitchen. She'll suddenly be like very serious and kind of grumpy and like bossy, maybe. And I've seen that, and then I see it in my mom, and then finally I could see it in me. And at first it's a kind of a sorrow, because it's a kind of way of being very serious and upset about how a dish was washed, kind of thing. And you kind of like, why'd you do it like that? You know, it's like, ooh, it's not friendly, it's not respectful or kind. And I can talk like that to my partner, or especially my children. It's a kind of a controlling order. Like, it has to be like this. Why, do it like this? And I can still ask them to do things in a certain way, but there's a way I can do it that has kindness and clarity and ease, and can still transmit the same thing, like this is helpful if we don't leave the milk out all day or whatever, we can care for our food, but I can share that in a way that is kind within my own heart. Because if I'm talking like that, actually it's kind of painful for me also, and it's painful for them. And interestingly, I didn't see that it was painful for them when I spoke that way. It's just how you correct if they left the milk out all day. But now I can see, because I can feel it from my grandma, and when my mom does it, oh, that kind of hurts actually. Yeah. And then with my attentiveness, I can also just cherish my grandma so much. I feel like when I go to her house, it's like I'm going into a bath of love. Like she has so much love and joy. And when I used to travel the world, and I'd be sometimes in places that felt very cold and unkind, sometimes I would like close my eyes and imagine I was in my grandma's house to connect again with the feeling of well-being. So that's like this huge gift that she's given. So we have both of these kinds of things that we've received. So I'd like to do a meditation today together. And please hold the meditations gently. Sometimes when I first do a meditation, it might not be as fruitful as several times later. And just have a lot of space for yourself for whatever your experience is. And maybe you receive a lot from the meditation. Maybe it's just kind of rehearsing something that you will enjoy later. Like learning to swim. It's not so fun maybe in the beginning, but it comes more and more naturally. So yeah, the meditation is just an invitation also. If today it feels like this isn't the right day for me to do this contemplation, just follow what's right for you, listening to yourself. So I'd like to do 2 parts. One on the ancestral transmission that contains some suffering, and one on the ancestral transmission that brings us a lot of well-being and we'd like to grow and keep alive in our life. There's a few parts to the meditation. The first is kind of finding what is a habit, energy, or suffering I may have. And if we are a parent, maybe we want to specifically think about one that is in our interactions with our children, or we might just want to pick some seed of suffering. And if we don't have children, just finding something we'd like to work with. Recognizing it, and then kind of befriending it. We have to have a relationship, a connection with our suffering, so we can have a deep contact with it. So taking that moment to embrace it and to become curious. Because when I have a suffering, it manifests in this way, but there are layers. There are voices and images and maybe qualities within it. So we'll spend a little time just to get to know, what does that feel like, that suffering, that habit. And then we'll invite it to know that it's not serving us as well as it did our ancestors, perhaps. We want to invite it to go on the journey of transformation with us that will take time. And today we'll just offer it some love, maybe some new insights, some wisdom that might help it to become softer. And then we'll imagine, what might it be like? What might it look like if I am in this situation where this habit arises and I do something differently? What might that feel like? Because that helps our mind to start to create a new pattern, to live into it. And when I'm doing transformational work, I'll do a lot of that imagining in my meditation because I have a lot of concentration there. It's harder in my daily life when I'm being busy. Until I anchor in my body and my mind, it can feel differently. I can act differently. This is what I might say. This is what I might do or how I might feel. It's very helpful for me. Yeah. Thank you. So bringing our awareness back to ourselves. Bringing our awareness inside, settling down to a place of quiet as we listen to the sound of the bell. And taking a moment to look at the different areas where we suffer, where there's a habit energy that we would like to invite on the journey of transformation with us. Just noticing different ones and choosing one for today's meditation. Noticing when it tends to arise. Noticing its quality. My dear habit, my dear pain, I know you're there. I am here for you. I want to help you to suffer less, to feel more light. I know you're rooted in an intention to protect. Perhaps from the experiences of my ancestors even. But I know you are just a habit energy, built from misunderstandings. And you can transform. I want to take this moment to get to know you a little bit more. Noticing what's happening inside of me when you arise, what the feelings may be, what the thoughts underlying. If you had a voice, what might you be saying? Just being curious. I want to thank you for trying to keep me safe. And I want to offer you an embrace with my kindness and my mindfulness. Inviting you to soften. And seeing now if I have any wisdom to offer you from that wise part of myself that has grown over time and may have a deeper understanding to offer you, or a strength, or maybe the voice of the Buddha or the Dharma within has something to offer. And now, if we can imagine what the opposite kind of feeling or quality or reaction might be like if our suffering is fear, for example, what might non-fear feel like? Ease. And allowing that feeling to arise within us besides the other feeling. Maybe flowing into it, softening it. And now imagining, how might I react differently in the moments where this habit usually arises? Can I imagine what it might look like? What I might say or do differently? How I might feel in my body? Taking a moment just to live into that, to let that grow within us. Aware that this new way of acting or reacting may actually bring us more well-being than our ancestral transmission. Bring us more safety, and happiness in our life. And now making the intention, the invitation to go on this journey with our habit energy, little bit by little bit, bringing in more light in a new way. And gently releasing that focus of our meditation, letting it go for now, and returning to just a simple space inside. We'll actually continue our meditation. But first we'll just have a moment of space. Michael is quietly changing the batteries on the microphone. So I'll try to raise my voice as we continue. And now bringing to mind a quality that we have received that we really appreciate. A quality that's active in our life, a source of well-being, maybe kindness or joy. And taking this time just to enjoy it, to bring it alive within us, remembering when this quality might tend to arise. It may come from our blood ancestors or our spiritual ancestors or our friends. Somewhere the seed has grown, this quality. And feeling gratitude. Allowing its quality to fill our body, our hearts. And being curious and making the intention to continue to grow this quality in our life. Curious as to how we may grow it. How we can continue to integrate this beautiful treasure into our daily life. Now we can listen to a sound of the bell to finish our meditation together. Thank you for practicing together. I think Michael had some things he would like to share. We'll have to do a little shifting of gear here.
Nope. More solid, huh? Dear friends, I'm intensely curious about what you just guided us through, Fern, because I was practicing with a habit energy that comes up between you and me. And like I want to go do something with it. So, dear friends, I want to continue sharing a little bit around the same quality or theme that Fern introduced us to this morning a little bit more, this dropping into the experience of our interbeing nature, our non-separate self nature, which really is the task of our practice at its core. And our daily life in this modern world moving so quickly, so many layers of complexity and obligation apparent, at least to us, seemingly important. It taking us in so many different directions, often disparities. This really is the work at the heart for me, I think for everyone, to really go through the door of insight and understanding into our true nature, or at least deeper into and towards our true nature. Well, the Buddha was always teaching this also. A couple thousand years ago. It seems to still be a big deal, relevant. The words that were used a lot back then, he used a lot of the language around impermanence, right? He talked about meditating with impermanence, which is basically what we just did, in a way. It's one version, a creative expression of meditation on impermanence. And it's both the technique and a kind of a fruit, in that Fern's words in the beginning where she said, just knowing that things don't have to be like this, they aren't stuck like this, things are always in change, always growing, there's always learning, there's always, nothing is static and done like that. That's a kind of fruit also, not just an idea, but it's that liberation that comes to us when we realize that there's spaciousness, because so much of the suffering comes when we have grabbed on, when we hold tight to things. There's I want to grow on just things that have happened today in my sharing. Earlier this morning, and we had our ceremony, and we did a sequence of earth touchings. And the sequence of earth touchings started with Shakyamuni Buddha, the historical figure of the Buddha who was the beginning of what we call Buddhism, although he didn't call it Buddhism, but that was the beginning of what we refer to as Buddhism now. And then we touched the earth with a series of bodhisattvas. And the bodhisattva for me is one of these doorways to practice deeply the non-separate self, the not permanent but impermanent, the interbeing teachings, and to give real experience to that. And I've been sharing about action and about levels of action and ways in which way in which we can hold and understand how we are acting, and kind of trying to give framework for that so that it just doesn't seem like a jumble of things that we are doing in our daily life, but so that each little thing can actually have a place in our practice. From a simple footstep to washing the dishes to trying to guide a child or teach a lesson or embrace a friend, right? Everything is an activity, an action. And the bodhisattvas are these personifications of different ways of acting, of expressing the awakened understanding. And historically, from our perspective, like we're looking back at thousands of years of practitioners practicing, and certain aspects of their communities of practice being remembered and being celebrated and being written down and being recorded and being handed on generation to generation. And there are whole cultures of people who lived with these teachings and these insights. And there still are, but there were over many, many centuries. And some of these things became very real for them, right? In the way that we might wake up into a world that we grow up in Western society, we just think, yeah, it's real. When you're a certain age, you go to kindergarten, and then you go to grade school, and then you go to this. That's just real life. And you have to get a job, and you have to survive, and this is just how it is. there are cultures in our ancestors' lives, there are cultures of groups of people, communities, whole huge areas of people for whom the bodhisattvas were just how it is. They are just as real in their lives as, our cars and our career path or our whatever might be, right? And so when we look back, we see these statues and we see these personifications of the bodhisattvas. They have names. They're like people. They're like beings. They're like entities. And I think from a typical Westerner growing up with a very analytical mind, with a very sort of rational base for understanding, less intuitive, more intellectual, which most of us are in that, right? We grow up with that. We look at this and we intellectualize that experience. And we say, oh yeah, it may have been real for someone there, but for me, what does that mean? Well, it means it's a capacity I have to have deep understanding, right? So now I've translated into a language that makes sense for me in a rational sense, analytical in my brain. Intellectually, I can say, yes, I certainly am, as any one of us could be, I could be someone who develops my understanding, my ability to understand, right? But like a being that is understanding, right? It doesn't quite click. So that's my challenge in this sharing. Can we connect those experiences a little bit? Because I think it is certainly true. I can exercise my capacity for deep understanding, or for mindful activity, or for great compassion and deep listening, right? Or for having perseverance and seeing myself strong and capable to go into a situation of suffering, perhaps, right? Like Ksitigarbha, going into the hell realms to bring relief, right? I can see that I have qualities in my life, and maybe if I don't, I think I could build them. I could get training. I could get a certificate in something that says I know how to do that, right? And I can do these things. But the challenge that comes to me when I look at the bodhisattvas is to open my heart to a different dimension, a different understanding of these things. And it's the same as when we say, we are here because our ancestors have transmitted this life experience to us. And this doesn't just mean our blood ancestors. It's like all the ancestors of the world, all those who have come before, right, now look like this. We are that. And when I go through that, last night I was in front of this altar for our ceremony, holding that water, and I made the blessing chant for the water, and I just invited in my heart all the ancestors who wanted to be present in this ceremony of compassion to pour themselves into that water, and they did. I don't know if you saw it, but I felt it. My eyes were closed. But it was like I was like holding a bigger and bigger basin in my hands as this was happening, and I had to slow down in my, like, wow, like, pause, Michael, something's happening, before I handed that off to the next aspect of the ceremony. I don't think that there is a distinction for me anymore of these entities, these beings, these spiritual beings of the bodhisattvas. I don't think there's a separation between them and the capacities that we exercise to go through our lives skillfully and appropriately. For me, they're becoming the same thing. And I'll just use some language to try to illuminate this. In a particular moment of my day, I might practice to be aware of a possibility, a choice to react with a little bit of agitation, or a choice to react with listening and spaciousness and compassion, right? And in that moment of decision, I decide to practice compassion. And so I take that in-breath and I invite my agitation to have a home, not to have to go running anymore to try to figure something out or get some recognition or get saved or held, but just, no, you're here. I got you. I take that breath and I hold it and I say, now, in this holding, I'm going to make space to listen and be present and act with compassion. Have a heart that has that feeling of love and understanding and spaciousness for the other person in front of me, and I'm choosing that. Am I being compassionate? Or is compassion able to manifest in the world in that moment? And that's the difference. And this is what the teachings are all about. It's not about me, right? There isn't a me that's the architect of this. This is the coming together of a billion unfathomable miracles, each in their own. And I'm going to say it's me, being compassionate, right? This compassion isn't me, so I am not being compassionate. By compassion, I'm opening a doorway with my choice in that moment for all the conditions to fall into place for compassion to be able to manifest in the world. This is the spiritual entity, the being of Avalokiteshvara, now expressing itself in the world. It's not me doing a good job, right? It's not me succeeding in all my training, but it's Avalokita, able to be smiled into the world by whatever is happening in that moment. Yeah. And so that's the challenge for me in this practice, as someone who is like, it's me, I'm a bodhisattva on the path of a bodhisattva, I love doing virtuous and good action in the world, or am I, like, with these little choices, tiny choices I make, like that choice to say, I'm not going to react with agitation right now. Am I allowing something to happen, right? Which making space for something to blossom. It's like when you plant a seed in the garden. I was on our walking meditation today, I was looking at all of these amazing flowers that are popping up in different spaces, and I'm aware that we have a community member, Marilee, who planted thousands of seeds of flowers this spring. Well, she scattered in different places, and many of them are starting to come up, and that's why we aren't mowing everywhere. I'm sorry if that's making some allergies or anything, but trying to allow for these wildflowers to take root in the lands here. And when you plant a seed, there are many conditions that you're going to put into place, right? You're going to do it at the right time so there's enough warmth and sun. You're going to do it when there's, make sure there's enough moisture, right? Sometimes we do it in little containers in our house before we move them out in the garden, and we prep soil very specifically and rich with compost and fertilizer, like a rich soil, and we press a little hole, we put the seed, we cover it up, we say a prayer, we offer the light, the warmth, and the time, right? We try to protect it for a time. All of that are conditions that we are bringing together, but we don't make the plant grow. When there's enough water and warmth and life and the transmission, the seed is good, right? Still has to be that as one condition. It has to be vital. And all those conditions are there. Suddenly, whoa, that seed like comes to life. It springs out a little shoot and a root, and it starts to grow. We have created many conditions, but the seed grows by itself. Right? For me, this is the practice in each moment. I'm wanting to give my effort and my best to make those little choices, to bring my attention and my awareness into presence so that the conditions are there. That these beings, these beautiful beings of the bodhisattvas can reveal themselves in the world. Yeah. In the Plum Village tradition of practice, we have this set of them that we respect a lot and we practice a lot to remember. Manjushri. We did Manjushri, the Bodhisattva of great understanding. We have Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of deep listening and great compassion. And we have Samantabhadra, the Bodhisattva of great embodiment, action, goodness, doing. Head, heart, and hands. The mind, the speech, the communication, connection, and the action of the world. So the three actions are right there manifesting in the Bodhisattvas. And these are the archetypes printed again and again through the practice. Like let's open this doorway so this can manifest. So our thinking can be filled with grace and insight, and wonderful things can be born out of our thinking. Let's put the conditions in place. Let's water the right seeds so that this Manjushri can come into the world. Sometimes Manjushri is depicted as quite a powerful being with a sword that cuts through affliction, right? An insight which says you don't need to suffer like that. If you will understand things in this way, we can peel back so much of the suffering and have this sense of freedom and connection without it. And then Avalokiteshvara riding on the waves of birth and death with such presence and peacefulness, with a heart overflowing with compassionate nectar, right? Often seen as having 10,000 hands, meaning manifesting in 10,000 forms, right? Revealed in the world. And each hand that is shown on the Bodhisattva has in it an eye, representing that the presence of the other Bodhisattvas of insight, and the hand itself is the action, right? But this is the heart coming out into the world. It's beautiful. We saw this carving wooden statue in the temple of the root teacher of a particular lineage that we're in, the Lin Chi lineage, which is Master Lin Chi from China. And his root temple in China, we visited there with Tai once, and in the back corner of one of the halls there was this big wooden statue. It's probably fill this whole space right here. Wooden carving of Avalokiteshvara with I don't know how many arms, but it was meant to show 10,000 arms and hands. It was pretty cool. All these layers of hands, some real close to the body, and then some like fans going out like that. Capable of responding to anyone in any situation and all. That's a capacity we have, yeah, but this is Avalokita. And each one of us allows Avalokita to manifest when we can practice presence and compassion. Yeah. And so you have the head and the heart and the hands in Manjushri and Avalokita and Samantabhadra with this embodied action. Samantabhadra, Bhadra means virtue or goodness. Right? So the action that carries goodness, carries something beneficial and wholesome into the world. Not an action which carries something unbeneficial, right? But an action that carries something beneficial, good, into the world. And the three of them, of course, you see them inside each other. There's two more that are they're in the chanting book and they're often spoken about in Plum Village. One is Ksitigarbha, the bodhisattva of great aspiration or great vow. And that vow is to always maintain enough capacity to be present where there's darkness, where there's suffering, where there's despair. Right? To be able to go there. When I think about Tai and I think about his life, I can see why all of these bodhisattvas are ones that he celebrates and why ones that he brought into our community, as he came from in terrible darkness, terrible violence, generations of war and occupation, and he was born in the midst of that. And in order to get through that, he would have needed to have Ksitigarbha's vow, aspiration, that to practice and to help manifest, let Ksitigarbha come into the world, to be present where there is that darkness, that hell realm. And then there's Sadaparibhuta. And we didn't invoke Sadaparibhuta because there's no chant, but I was thinking about it this morning. Recognizing the awakened nature of everyone they meet. Sadaparibhuta, bodhisattva never disparaging, to whom we vow in gratitude, something like that.
Very, very wonderful.
So Sadaparibhuta is a bodhisattva who doesn't disparage. In other words, always sees the potential of awakening in every being that they meet. I mean, how many times do we encounter someone, or we're in a relationship with someone, and we're looking at where it sucks, where it's hard, where we don't like, where the suffering is, where the limitation is, right? That is not Sadaparibhuta. But in the moments when we are able to really say, okay, I'm going to decide in this moment to look at my child, or look at my partner, or look at my coworker, or look at the president, look at someone, and I'm going to keep my heart open with a transcendent kind of love, right? I'm going to not be thinking about how we're different or whatever, but instead I'm going to be focused only on the possibility of awakening and the revelation that could happen here of transformation, the beauty that is manifested just like it is, and I want to encourage that. Monks who practice homage to Sadaparibhuta, they walk around touching the earth in front of every person that they see. So they'd be on the street and you walk in front of them and they just touch the earth. Because they're practicing to strengthen and open that door, right? For Sadaparibhuta, this never disparaging, always seeing the potential for the Buddha to awaken and be present in the world in each one of us. Yeah. Beautiful practice, especially with your loved ones, right? Because our loved ones are the ones that we get the toughest on. You know, we've taken away the veils. We're going to say we're going to trust, but because the veils aren't there, we're also the quickest to react and put the boundaries back up again. And one of the beautiful tools for softening that tension that can come between us and our loved ones is to focus on the awakened possibility, the possibility of awakening in their heart, in their mind, in their body, right? And look at that. Flower watering, right? Think about it very practically speaking. It's the practice of flower watering, to always turn to the gratitude and the appreciation and use that as a doorway for connection and growing and learning. And then Sadaparibhuta is manifesting in the world. And there's one more that Tai always included, which doesn't always get sung about and celebrated. Actually, a Buddha. That's Maitreya. Maitreya Buddha. And Maitreya Buddha is the Buddha yet to be born. And this is similar to Sadaparibhuta in a way, right? It's to know that Buddha nature is in every sprout of plant, in every speck of soil, in every tiny creature, in every roaming creature, in every fish, in every bird, and in every one of us. There is the awakening Buddha. And Maitreya is that awakening Buddha. Sadapaributta sees the possibility of awakening and doesn't disparage, but instead goes there. And Maitreya is that awakening Buddha. Maitreya is the word that its name comes from is Maitri, which is often translated as loving kindness in circles of Buddhist practice and loving kindness meditation, right? Where we meditate on ourselves and on other people with that, may I be well, may I be free from harm, may I be able to transform my suffering, may I be happy and at peace, right? And we do that with other people also. Maitri, the word Maitri actually means, literally translated, is friend or friendship. And so this loving kindness quality is the kind of quality of presence and I am here for you that comes from real friendship. When we know someone's really listening to us, they're really there, and they show up again and again for us, we will call them a friend, right? When we love and care for them and we're going to show up for them, we call them a friend. And Maitri, friendship, is going both ways, right? And that kind of kindness and presence and love that's expressed. Really, for me, this is the whole essence of the practice. When we practice mindfulness, we're coming home to ourselves like a friend. We're listening. We're being there. We're taking care. We're having real presence for our body, for our heart and mind. So in the basics of the practice, there's a friendship, making friends with ourselves. Fern was teaching us how to make friends with seeds from our ancestors in her meditations. Right? So befriending ourselves, befriending our ancestors, befriending each other. And that's Sangha. When we're really there for each other, practicing to allow the bodhisattvas to manifest through us and with us and between us, we are building Sangha, we're building community. How precious. We are allowing the bodhisattvas to be revealed in the world when we are manifesting Maitreya Buddha. So there's this funny thing is that it's spoken of Maitreya being the Buddha yet to be born. But if the Buddha yet to be born is this manifestation of this friendship, I'm not so sure that that's the right descriptor for Maitreya anymore. Because I know that I can go to many places in the world, almost every country, and multiple places in most, and find groups of people who practice these teachings together, who allow the bodhisattvas to manifest, who are manifestations of Maitreya Buddha. So this is not yet to be born. This is like already happening. Especially when I think of Tai and I think of the story of his life, and from the unassuming, humble, yet impassioned and powerful awakened being that he was, jettisoned out of the war and the conflict in Vietnam, and then what happened from that? What happened in the world because of that? And because of the continued opening of the doorway for these bodhisattvas to manifest. I see pockets of Manjushri, gatherings of Samantabhadra, and certainly a large expression of many hands of Avalokiteshvara already alive in the world. I see Maitreya Buddha a little bit everywhere. Yeah. So this is what it means for me to be empty and to be practicing shunyata, emptiness. There's nothing even close to alone. There's nothing about non-existence. There's nothing about a lack of meaning or purpose or connection. It's so rich. It's so rich. But it's just that simple shift. It's not about me. It's a beautiful way. Maitreya is a powerful being. I'm so happy to be witnessing their manifestation in the world. I've been a part of communities that endeavored to do things a little bit differently than the norm of society. And I don't feel limited. I feel like there's so much potential for humanity to do incredible things, to make miracles happen, to put those conditions in place for these flowers of the practice to manifest. I hope that in your practice and coming together as community, as friends in the practice, that you can feel that too. The burden and the weight of the suffering in the world is a burden and a weight. It's very real. But the capacity that we have to manifest this beautiful way is also really powerful and really present in the world. And they don't need to be opposing forces, because this way is not about taking a side. It's about transcending the sides. It's about simply endeavoring to make the next step the most beautiful step, the most powerful step, the most peaceful step, right? Most in terms of what we have, what we've got right now, right here. Tai always walked like that. And now Tai's still walking like that. He's got like millions of feet everywhere. That's like music. That's like raindrops all over the planet. So let's keep doing that. Let's not forget. Let's not let humanity forget how beautiful we can be. We are all the leaves of one tree. We are all the leaves of one tree. The time has come for all to live as one. We are all the leaves of one tree. We are all the waves of one sea. We are all the waves of one sea. The time has come for all to live as one. We are all the waves of one sea. We are all the stars of one sky. We are all the stars of one sky. The time has come for all to live as one. We are all the stars of one sky. We are all the leaves of one tree. We are all the waves of one sea. The time has come for all to live as one. We are all the stars of one sky.